Tell us a little bit about what you saw and being able to relay that message to Cora when you watched Kimbrel pitch and kind of help out so he wasn't tipping his pitches.
So tipping pitches, we hear about it all the time.
People at home understand what tipping pitches is all about.
It's amazing.
And that's remarkable.
Alex, I'd like to start today's episode on account of the fact that we have nothing to talk about and no plan. I'd like to start in the traditional tipping pitches fashion, which is asking you to weigh in on a hot topic of the internet of the day. Is that okay?
That is okay. Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to trust that we know what he's doing with the tariffs.
You didn't even have anything else.
No, I didn't.
Anyway.
I couldn't even entertain the bit. What's up, Bobby? How's it going?
Well, I wanted to know specifically what you thought about whether or not it's useful and productive for Bernie and AOC to be at Coachella. Introducing Claro. So what do you think?
I think the answer is no, unless you and I get invited to Coachella to introduce Claro, in which case that absolutely is, that's called movement building, is what it is.
Expanding the movement,
Yeah.
growing the tent.
Right.
Growing the umbrella. Bringing in guys like you and me to the movement. I mean, come on. It's going to be unstoppable after that.
I'll take things I haven't thought about for 200, Alex.
Coachella?
Just, any
Claro?
of it. Any of it.
Did you hate women in music or... Would you say that you don't think about AOC because she's a woman in politics?
Right. Exactly. I'm more interested in what Bernie does after he leaves Coachella.
Sit down and get mad about the Brooklyn Dodgers?
Exactly. That's my kind of guy.
So you don't want to weigh in about whether or not this is effective movement building? I mean, come on. You're like the number one guy when it comes to political strat.
I am. Yes. Yeah. No, actually, funny you say that. The Pod Save guys we've been doing a lot of dialoguing as of late. Honestly, they've convinced me on abundance.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm. I'm all in.
Are they in on abundance?
Pretty well. They're entertaining it.
Here you go again, trying to rope me into talking about an abundance. Something I'm not going to talk about on a podcast.
Oh, that's right.
Just not going to talk about it. I mean, you're welcome to speak your mind about abundance. This is a platform for free speech. Unlike most podcasts these days where you're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah. Off to a rollicking start.
I don't understand what abundance is, and I don't. It's at this point I'm too scared to learn.
Mm-hmm.
Too scared to learn. The only Ezra I want to know is about the guy who's the lead singer of Vampire Weekend.
You a big Vampire Weekend guy?
No.
Were you ever?
I would say that A-Punk, that's the name of that album? Or is that just the first song on that album?
That's just the first song on
What's that album called?
Is it just called Vampire Weekend?
It sure is. Self-titled. Released in 2008. I was there for that moment, I was around.
Mm-hmm.
I was press and play.
Should we start doing self-titled
iTunes
episodes?
Did you? We should start titling our episodes things that are going to get more people to listen.
All right, you're in on SEO in 2025.
I'm pivoting back to SEO. The connectivity of the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know when I started in fucking journalism? I had to take classes about SEO.
Yeah.
Like at my first internship, I had to go to like hour-long seminars about how to get people to click on articles. Those days are dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, AWS goes down and nothing works on the internet for a week. Forget trying to get LeBron James's name into the first clause of the headline. Forget it.
Yeah.
Who cares? Now it's all about discoverability because of format. Now it's all, if we put video on our pods, more people will click on it.
The best SEO is being in like Elon's mentions right now.
Right. Who are some of the top 5 people that you think have really gained some clout on the neoliberal left in the last few months?
On the neoliberal left?
Yeah.
The abundance guys.
To be clear, I don't know anything about those guys. I don't know who they are. I don't have any comments about the abundance gentlemen. The abundance men? Mr. Abundance? God, are you...
I think that's the problem, is that there's a vacuum on the neoliberal left right now.
You want to fill it?
I think we should.
Okay.
I just think we need to build better working systems.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about bringing decorum back? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're running real
Oh
2017 playbook, bro.
Oh my God.
And turn back those clocks, ladies and germs. We're bringing back 2017. Javi Baez is good again. Chris Bryan is good again. Other guy,
Anthony Rizzo is good again.
Good again. John Lester,
Ian
he's
Happ
good again.
is good again.
No, not now, bro. The Cubs are just laying in on the Dodgers with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, here's the thing about the Cubs is that they're good.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know the thing about the Dodgers? They're not.
I want to talk about that a little bit. And I want to talk about a lot of other things that we haven't had time to discuss in the 2025 baseball season. When I say haven't had time, I really mean that in a sort of like we just haven't done it. Nothing has been holding us back from doing it except ourselves. We choose what goes on this podcast. No one tells us what to do, clearly. No one. There's no producers. There's no editors. There's nothing.
No.
This is it. It's just you and me.
All raw.
Yeah.
Straight to feed.
All raw. That is exactly how I would describe this podcast. I have some thoughts on the Dodgers.
It's great.
And the Cubs.
Yeah.
We got a couple voicemails. When I say a couple, I mean two. Literally two voicemails.
Yeah.
We had one person reply to our tweet about me asking what we should talk about.
Good.
And other than that,
the one that you sent out like 20 minutes ago?
It was at least 30.
Okay.
At least 30
right.
minutes
So
ago.
y'all have had time. Don't come into our mentions complaining. Why didn't you talk about this?
I mean, it's all about the here and now, you know? Twitter is about what's happening.
It's what's happening.
You know that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, X the everything app. So we're gonna talk about those things. We'll see where it goes. Also, we have a lovely conversation with Kurt Weaver, who is the COO of You Can Play, which is the organization that we have been doing a fundraiser for the month of April, as well as we started it in the middle of March. Really centered around the beginning of this baseball season, trying to raise money for a good cause. You Can Play does work around accessibility, inclusivity for the LGBTQ plus community in sports. Done a lot of great work in the hockey world, done some great work in the baseball world. We've been raising money for that organization. As many of you know, there's a link in the description where you can donate to that fundraiser if you have not yet and you have a couple extra bucks. If you donate $12 or more, that will get you, and you send us a screenshot of your receipt to tippingpitchespod@gmail.com. We will send you a link where you can redeem one free month of the top tier of our Patreon and get access to a lot of great stuff. Some extra bonus content that we've done with our friends at Batting Around. We're going to talk to Hannah Kaiser to do 3 Up, 3 Down together later this week. We put the expanded version of the Tipping Pitches Power Hour over on Patreon, where me and Alex drunkenly talked about album formatting. Get excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really excited that Kurt was able to join and talk a little bit about what You Can Play does, how they achieve this mission of making sports more inclusive and accessible, not just at the professional level, but also at the community level. So I really think you'll enjoy that if this is something that you care about, and I hope that you do. Other than that, yeah, we're just gonna vibe for a little bit. But before we do, I am Bobby Wagner.
I am Alex Baisley.
And you are listening to Tipping Pitches. You know, it's been a minute since I read out the new patrons, and it's going to be a few more minutes because there's so many of them. And I can't read them all right now because
We'd love to see
I didn't write them all down. But thank you to everybody who has joined the Patreon. Really, 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 really heartfelt thank you to everyone who has joined, whether they are just signing up directly or whether you have joined by redeeming a promotional link for donating to You Can Play. That's amazing. Or whether you're a member of the Batting Around Patreon and you got a code to sign up for our Patreon. No matter which way you got there, thank you so much. It really means a lot. Alex and I have been, maybe you might have noticed, but Alex and I have been putting a lot of effort into the Patreon and growing the game over there because we like to do this and we'd like to keep doing it. We'd like to arguably do it even more. Any other updates Alex, that you have for the people.
Do you want to jinx a no-hitter with me right now?
Yes. Who's throwing on?
Garrett Crochet.
Ooh.
7 innings in.
I don't want to jinx that.
Okay. Well,
Too late.
Better cut it out.
I like him.
Hey, he's good.
Actually, here's where we should start. No, you know what? Put a bookmark in that, the Boston Red Sox. I want to start there.
Okay.
But before we do, you should tell people about some merch. Tell people about some merch.
Some merch. Oh, we're rolling it out here.
Yeah, bro.
Now.
You listen to the pod, you get the little heads up.
We do have some fun merch coming. It's been a little while since we've done a refresh of the store, but it's time. It's, we did it. We unionized the miners, you and I.
Yep, that's right.
Alone, just us.
That's right.
And so it's on to the next. We're actually pivoting to the actual miners, given that Trump is bringing mining back to the U.S. No,
there's no more coal, bro. It's gone. The merch is not here yet. Let me just preface it by saying that. Yeah. But Alex and I have been putting a lot of work into the merch. We're going to revamp the whole store. We're going to change the shirts, the shirt material that the shirts are printed on. So they are going to be heavyweight. They're going to be high quality. They're going to be well printed. I know that has been a little bit up and down in the past, and we've put a lot of work into making sure that they not only are like made ethically, sourced from the USA, union printed, they will continue to be that, but also that they are high quality and really comfortable and worthwhile to wear for the long term. So that's something that we've been working on for the last couple of weeks. With that, there will be 3 new designs. They will probably come in the next few weeks, I would say. And we will make the proper announcements here on the podcast and also on social media when they do. And Alex said it. We're taking down the unionized miner shirts. So,
but
end of an era.
But if you're a longtime patron, in fact, if you are the longest time patron, patrons,
keep an eye out.
A little something special coming your way as a thank you as we come up on the 3-year anniversary of launching the Patreon, which has just been such a wild ride. Really been, I think, allowed us to get a little looser, a little goofier, and honestly has allowed us to get to know so many of you over the last few years. I think that's been really the coolest thing, whether it's online, in person at meetups, of which we have a couple.
Whoa.
Of which we have a couple.
This show has become so much promotion.
We don't even need stuff to talk about.
No, exactly. We could just do a whole notebook dump. All the stuff that we're doing. Tipping Pitches meetups on June 13th in Brooklyn, New York. We actually have the link for that. Did I tell you this?
I don't think you did.
I think we got the link for that.
That's
so,
great.
If it's active, it'll be in the description. If it's not, this part's coming out of the podcast. So you won't even hear it. That's June 13th, Friday, June 13th at the Brooklyn Cyclones. Saturday, September 6th in Kansas City, Missouri.
Do you want to weigh in on whether or not Kauffman Stadium is better than a downtown ballpark right here, right now?
I would love to.
Okay, great.
I would love to. One is not better than the other. We don't live in a zero-sum world.
You're right. Yeah, it's the bosses who want you to fight amongst each other.
Exactly. Yeah. And they would like you to create tension and chaos so that they can convince city councils to give them money.
Exactly.
To
as long
create
as
a
you're at
different
each other's
ballpark.
throats.
Oh, Kauffman's not good enough. Look at all these people down here talking about how downtown ballpark needs to be built. By the way, we need $1 billion to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Silly. It's silly.
Goofy.
I like Kauffman. Sorry. I know that's maybe a controversial thing to say these days, but I like Kauffman. Call me crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kansas City is a cool town. Just one man's opinion.
Honestly, I think this is one of the coolest things about baseball is that every stadium is built differently. Like obviously from like
built different.
It's built different. From like a literal.
Would you say Kauffman is built Ford tough?
I think so. Although I thought this was a Chevrolet podcast.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure.
The
I
big.
don't want you changing allegiances.
The
on me.
big neon sign behind you that says Chevrolet wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm really stoked to go to Kauffman. Honestly, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Prove it.
I'll go right now.
You should. How are you
I'm
going to
out.
get there? Are we flying? Or are we driving? Road tripping?
Well, what does that drive look like? It's a bit of a drive. What, like 9 or 10 hours?
It's a lot of hours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a lot of hours.
I've done the drive from New York to Chicago, and it's
Too long.
many hours.
Yeah, it's too long.
Yeah.
Too many hours.
Mhm.
All right, we'll fly.
Okay.
Flying these days, though. A little bit of a mixed bag.
Yeah,
You know?
but I trust our private pilot.
Well, it was really huge when A-Rod loaned us his jet.
That's what I was just thinking.
Right, for the Tipping Pitches meetup. He's going to be there, by the way.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks for reminding me of the meetup. So excited about that. If you are intending to come to the Kansas City meetup and you haven't filled out the form, the Google form that's been in the description for the last few weeks, check the description for that. We're just trying to gauge how many people are going to come. We're going to make a call pretty soon about how many tickets to buy so that we're all sitting in the same place. Just a bit of a logistical hurdle. Are you ready to talk about some stuff?
Let's
I'm going to grab bag it.
talk stuff.
So, the Red Sox. A lot of people picking them to be really good.
Mhm.
Some people picking them to win the AL East. Some people picking them to win the World Series.
Mhm.
I don't have thoughts about that. What I do have thoughts about, Alex.
Oh, by the way, I just want to tell you, just so you know, we did in fact jinx the crochet.
Damn it. That's messed up.
I know.
What you just did there.
I know.
An assault on the people of Boston.
Mhm.
And that's not right.
No, it's not right. That city's
This
been through
podcast
too
is
much.
made for the people of Boston.
Mhm.
They don't get enough.
They don't.
You know? 6 Super Bowls, 2 NBA titles this century.
Yeah. No, they
One
cower in the
NHL
shadow
Stanley
of
Cup.
New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not fair.
It's not fair. Harvard. I don't know. I'm just saying stuff I know about Boston.
not even Boston.
The town. Here's my thought about Boston. I think the Red Sox are cool again.
Mhm.
I don't know what happened. We turned our back on them for a couple of years. They did the Mookie trade. We buried them. We were like, that's a bygone era. The era of the Red Sox is over. 4 World Series this century. 4 of them, Alex. 4.
That's ridiculous.
I know.
That's actually really like
I just keep saying it because
don't believe you.
It's like always 2 more than I think it is.
Mhm.
04, 07, 13, and 18.
Right. I'm always like, it's 04, and then they got another one in there somewhere.
Yeah, no. They got 3 more.
Christ.
Okay. And we were
And
like,
so this is where you come out and you say, you know what? They deserve even more.
no, I mean, it's not about World Series race. I'm talking about aura right now, as the kids say. Vibe.
Right.
Vibe. I think John Henry was a wee bit passe in our world, where we were like, he's kind of past his point of investing in the team. He cares more about Liverpool. I'm being futures have all cashed in. What's next for this guy? They fire Heim. They fired Dombrowski. Now they bring in Craig Breslow,
Sure.
who just looks like he came off the assembly line of presidents of baseball operation. Like this guy. I know he played in the bigs or whatever. Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Just making sure. Came from the Rays, right?
All right. Now you're losing me.
All that being said, I don't know if it's the Netflix doc that I've been watching.
Are you watching it? I haven't tuned in.
I've
yet.
watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
It's really good.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to hand it to them. Hate to hand it to my friends over at Netflix.com, but it's really good. Turns out when you tell stories about sports and you actually make it humanistic, it can become very interesting very fast.
Yeah.
And we like to joke that baseball players are boring, but they're actually not that boring when you ask them the right questions and treat them as human beings.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that all leads me to this, which is that I think the Red Sox are #back. And I think they're cool.
Yeah.
And I don't know what to do with that feeling because I've been shitting on them for quite some time. And I've been shitting on John Henry. And I've been saying that the Boston fans are spoiled. And I just think they're cool again. Help me out. You're
Look,
just staring at me blankly, not saying anything.
I know, because I'm a little worried about you, frankly. But you know what I would say to you is let it happen. Let it wash over you. You know? This is the way, brother.
Yeah. Is it?
I mean, it's interesting you say because I get that vibe too about the Red Sox. But I also don't really know why. There's not necessarily like one guy who I'm like, he's a dude. I mean, Devers is a dude, right? But
Except for the first week of the season when you look like the worst player in baseball.
well, exactly. But that's why I'm kind of like, I don't exactly know how they're doing this. We're like 2 or 3 years removed from if you know, you know, right?
I know.
Like of them being
No pun intended.
Exactly. Of them being public enemy number one among like
snot-nosed left.
vaguely left-leaning, right? Exactly. Baseball fans following the Mookie trade. But I don't know. Christian Campbell is cool. Tristan Casas is cool and good.
I know.
Like
Him doing yoga
yeah.
in the Netflix doc, him connecting with the earth.
Mm-hmm.
When he came on there and he was like, I've never had a caffeinated beverage in my life because I believe the sun emits natural energy that I can soak up.
Oh my God. See, I haven't watched any of this. So you're breaking this to me.
You're just hearing about this for the first time.
That is awesome. Right. Yeah.
There's a scene in the second episode where Jaron Duran's Ford Bronco breaks down.
I did see this one going around. Yeah.
Casas comes over and is like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be putting your hands in that engine. Your hands aren't meant for that. He has a scene where he talks about why he paints his nails. And he's like, it's basically just because it makes everyone else so mad. And I think that's funny.
That is awesome. More spite, frankly, in baseball.
Honestly, though, a couple more notes on that, on the Netflix doc, is that the seesaw effect between seeing some of the positive and negative self-talk that these guys have. Like, I'm dropping the charade for a second. I actually, like, this is a really earnest thing for me. When they make mistakes, the way that they talk to themselves is like, cuts close. Cuts really close. And then Casas in particular, when he's standing in the on-deck circle, there's a scene in episode 2 where he's standing in the on-deck circle while Devers is up to bat, and there's a shot of Casas right behind Devers over his shoulder as Devers is taking an actual at-bat. And like players do, Casas is in the on-deck circle trying to time the pitch at the same time, taking his practice swings. And the whole time he's just saying to himself, you have the best swing in the world. You don't need to think about anything. Don't think about anything. You have the best swing in the world. You're the best hitter in the world. And I'm like, this rocks.
Here's the thing about baseball players is that they're fucking weird.
I know.
And you don't get any of that when you're talking to them, I don't know, in an in-game interview or a post-game interview or whatever. But I do feel like being they are so well, I guess, media trained, manicured. Frankly, I think more so than other sports that I do think you get.
Well, they just have more reps because they play 162 games, so they have 162 media availabilities.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And the culture within the sport is again one that's a little more keep your head down. Say the right thing, say that you're proud of your team, and thank the fans because they're the reason that you do what you do or whatever. I do think that baseball is a sport that really does benefit from the kind of fly on the wall view of things.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you're going to necessarily catch many baseball players proactively saying something that's like interesting or profound or whatever. It's more in those like human moments in between everything, right? Where you see, oh, this guy's fucking crazy and neurotic just like me.
Yeah. When you make a mistake and you can't stop saying to yourself, God, fuck, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why did I do that?
Exactly.
Fuck. Shit.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is so real. Brian Bayo is the main pitcher that the doc is following. I've seen over the first couple episodes like who has really emerged as like the main characters of the show. It's Jaron Duran, Brian Bayo, Alex Cora, the manager, Casas, and their pitching coach, whose name escapes me at this exact moment, and just a couple of the other pitchers. And it's really interesting to follow Bayo because there's just like stuff that I didn't know about what pitchers do, like between innings. He goes down to the tunnel and sits alone by himself. He doesn't sit in the dugout. I mean, this is not true of every pitcher.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But like that just never even occurred to me as a thing that people would or could do.
Mm-hmm.
He goes down there and sits by himself, and he like just talks to himself the whole time. I'm just like, this is crazy. This is like if I could wave a magic wand and have questions answered about how things happen. This is answering some of those questions. So it's really interesting. Broadly about the Red Sox, I think that what has happened is we haven't put the Mookie trade behind us, but Christian Campbell, the eventual promotion of Roman Anthony, Casas, Devers continuing to be amazing. There's now enough positivity and positive sentiment about that organization that it's almost allowed me to like tap back into the things that I do think are genuinely unique about the Red Sox. One of those things is Fenway, which seeing it represented, throughout the first couple weeks of the season on MLB TV, but also in this documentary and seeing it from totally different angles and sightlines that you've never seen it before, because I've never been there, which is crazy. And I thought this morning, I was like, I need to remedy this like today, basically. At least by July, we need to go to Fenway.
All right, book it.
Because I kept thinking, like, I never went to Old Yankee Stadium. If a natural disaster ripped down the Green Monster tomorrow and they decided that they never wanted to come back to Fenway, I would never forgive myself. So we have to do that. It's allowed me the freedom to kind of let go of some of that stuff and admit to myself what is cool about the Red Sox again. It's a weird place that I find myself in. Maybe the Red Sox are my new Dodgers.
Okay.
Where I become the one man defending them in the public sphere, despite the fact that I'm not a fan of the team. I become the one unbiased defender of the Red Sox. What do you think about that? Is that a good bit for the pod?
That is a good bit for the pod. I mean, do the Red Sox have that many active haters right now?
I think it's mostly because of the Patriots and Celtics.
Yes, I agree.
That it's like they get lumped into that same thing. But I think Red Sox fans are different and, dare I say, better.
Coming out on the Red Sox fans are good train.
I feel the same way about this is not true. I mean, there's no actual qualitative assessment that you can make of an entire fan base, but just in terms of like placing their fans and their stadium and their organization in a long lineage of baseball history, to me, there is something really appealing about that. And again, it can't be understated how much Fenway is carrying the team on its back, so to speak. But like, I also watched a documentary last week, the documentary, The House That Steinbrenner Built, 30 for 30. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
I have a while ago.
Yeah. I think it came out in 2011, something like that. Maybe 2014. About how they tore down Yankee Stadium and built the new one. And just about everything that went into that and George Steinbrenner's involvement in the Yankees. And I just found myself just like really nostalgic and wistful for like a stadium that I never really had an emotional attachment to and never went. I was like, they shouldn't have done that. Why'd they do that? And I thought about it more and more, and I was like, they shouldn't do that. They should never do that. Mm-hmm. They should never tear down Fenway or Wrigley, ever. They can do whatever renovations they want to. They can ship a Theseus it to the point where there's not a single block of cement that was there at the original Fenway. They should just never tear it down.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And frankly,
we shouldn't tear down Notre Dame. This is our Notre Dame. I'm not even kidding.
No, I know you're right. I mean, I think that there's actually something really cool about being able to say, this is all our ballpark that we've had for a century. And this piece right here is from this era, and this piece right here is from this era. And it's this really patchwork of history. I mean, not to get like super sapient stuff, but I imagine, as a fan of the team or as a player of the team, to walk into a place like that and being like, I can feel the history. Like this is the field that Babe Ruth stood on. Like this is right. He played in Fenway.
Yes, he did. Interesting to choose him, the one who cursed the team and the stadium. This is the field that Bill Buckner played on.
Yeah, that's got to make you feel good.
No. Yeah, I know what you're saying. This is the field that rookie Roger Clemens pitched 16 times on. Mm-hmm. The three Red Sox legends. Roger Clemens, Babe Ruth, Bill Buckner.
Those are three New York legends right there.
I mean, yes. Ted Williams, Yastrzemski, all these guys.
I don't know. I agree. Let's go to Fenway. Let's do it. Book it.
Yeah, I don't know what to do with these sentiments because I think that there is still a little bit of lingering animosity between the Mets and Red Sox fan bases. Not that I have to carry that with me, but
Just from
86. I think the Red Sox fans are still kind of mad at the Mets.
yeah, but like they got to get over that.
I
Like,
agree.
are Reds fans still mad at the A's from like 73 or whatever?
73 was when the A's beat the Mets in the World Series.
They're 72.
I'm still mad at them for
All
that.
right, well,
Damn, the A's were so good, bro.
I don't want to talk about
The
it.
early
I don't
70s
actually
A's
really
were
wanna talk
so
about it.
good.
I'm
What was
not
Charlie
interested
Finley
in
cooking?
talking about it.
All right, what else should we talk about? You got your little running note of things that you've been thinking about the baseball year so far. What else? Should we do a voicemail while you think about your next topic?
Yeah, let's do a voicemail.
Okay, great.
Pivodka? Mike Pivodka? Is that anything? Anyways, I don't know.
Mike P. Vodka.
Mike Pivodka.
Better than True Vodka. Somehow.
Look, I'm so excited for this segment that we're going to do.
I don't think people know about it. I mean, I think I joked about it briefly on the pod last week, but if they didn't hear that, what are you referring to?
Are we gonna tell them?
I think we should.
All right, great.
Although it's going to be on Patreon, just so you know.
Well,
Some motivation.
some motivation right there.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is we love we love bits and we love engaging with the things that baseball players do that are not related to baseball, especially
Yes,
when they show themselves as plucky young entrepreneurs.
right.
And so this was really started from
I'm
our
mad about the word entrepreneur. I hate to disrupt this rant that you're going on right now.
You don't think Mike Piazza is an entrepreneur?
No, I'm mad at the word entrepreneur. I think it's a dumb word, and I don't like that it has taken so much space in our culture. It's like such a deeply French word.
Okay.
It's so hard to spell and say.
Entrepreneur. Yeah.
That R for pra
The
shouldn't be
the
there.
Pra is hard. Yeah.
It doesn't sound good in the English pronunciation. But
So
there's no
what's your-
better word for what Mike Piazza is.
Disruptor?
Is he disrupting the vodka
We'll
space?
have to taste it to find out.
What's disruptive about an athlete taking on fucking vodka? He hasn't disrupted anything.
I've never seen a vodka that's purely marketed towards
People
upwardly
who
mobile.
make between $125
Right.
and $350,000. Yeah, so
Look, what we're gonna do
Yeah.
is we're going to sit down
in
and,
this room,
and taste in this very room
and we're going to invite our friend Matthew Robertson,
in your apartment,
who was on the
at-
pod last week.
I know you're gonna bleep out that number because even that is too close for home for you.
We should do it at Four World Trade in the Spotify studios.
Ooh.
Mike Piazza would love that.
We are going to taste Mike Piazza's vodka and Mike Pivodka's Mike Pivodka.
I don't even know what you're saying.
Me neither, man. I feel like I've already had some at this point. And to any other baseball player who is who's putting their name out there attached to an alcohol brand. Are we limiting it to alcohol?
No, just any booze.
Just
any, yeah.
alcohol.
Alcohol.
But
Alcohol.
like yes, yeah.
I don't think it's fun if we're trying like a soda.
Speak for yourself, brother.
I mean, if knowing you, I don't think
I want
I've ever
Jose
seen
Martinez's coffee.
And-
Sorry.
Ooh, maybe we should start with that. That's a good idea.
And then maybe make some espresso martinis with the vodka at the end.
Whoa, man, you're cooking up something special.
Look.
Yeah, so I put out a call for people to share on X the Everything app any alcohol brands that they know of that are sponsored by professional baseball players or coaches or whoever, anyone who has a connection to Major League Baseball. Either,
I mean, not anyone. I mean,
if there's an owner out there who owns an alcohol brand, I'll put that on
oh
the list.
yeah. I'm just saying, I'm not. I mean, so if like a Brave Scout, it's like I have a little microbrewery on the side.
Low key interested. Honestly.
All right, that's honestly fair.
What I learned is that there's not that many.
Right.
We did this on the big picture for celebrity, like movie related celebrity alcohols, and there were so many of them.
Yeah.
But for baseball, kind of limited, especially in the liquor department. There's a lot of beers. There's a handful of wines. So if you know of one, go ahead and send us an email, tippingpitchespod@gmail.com with who the player is and what the name of their alcohol is. It's either founded by or like this person is a prominent sponsor, not just that they've done like a paid social media post or two. That doesn't, I don't think that rises to the level. Like, don't send me someone who like was in a Tito, like did a Tito's ad on their Instagram. Like, no, they didn't found Tito's.
Right.
I want like they are somewhat involved in the fabric of this company.
Right. Some sort of like a monetary investment.
Yeah. They got skin in the game.
Exactly.
They got skin in the game.
Because that's how you know that it's a good product.
Yeah, exactly. It's vouched for by Dave Roberts.
That's why I'm stoked for PIP vodka.
I hope I can find that.
The vodka?
Yeah.
We will.
I know.
Don't worry.
I'll fly to Florida to get it if I have to.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good use of our funds for one episode on the Patreon. So we're gonna taste it and then we're gonna chat. That'll be in the next couple months because we have to assemble these liquors.
Yeah.
All right. What else do you want to talk about? Should I do another voicemail? Did you forget to come up with another topic?
I don't really have many topics to talk about. Do you want to?
All right. I'll do another voicemail.
Great.
Hey, Alex and Bobby. First, the Yankees. They have a major problem. Aaron Judge recently posted in one of the social media, ask the players something interesting, asked their favorite artist, and he, in the year of our Lord 2025, said that he likes Drake. He's also the captain and music guy. Someone please help my baseball team. It's a big issue. Thanks. Bye.
Wait, are we shocked by this? This is the least surprising thing I've ever heard.
Yeah. Boring baseball player on the team that's too big to fail likes boring artist that's too big to fail.
Right, exactly. I'd be just as surprised if he said like Imagine Dragons. Be like, okay.
Wow. Much to think about in what you just said. You wouldn't be surprised if Aaron Judge was like, my favorite artist is Imagine Dragons. That would be kind of surprising to me.
I mean, I guess I would mostly just appreciate his commitment to like the longevity of that career. Are they still making music? Probably.
I think so. Yeah.
Or like Chainsmokers, you know?
Ooh, haven't heard a new Chainsmokers tune in a minute.
That's because you're not listening very closely.
I guess not. I don't know. Can you name 2 Chainsmokers songs?
Closer.
Mm-hmm. Now it's time for number 2. This is like when I asked you to name famous Red Sox, and your answer was Babe Ruth.
Babe Ruth.
I don't think I can.
I don't think I can either. There is one other one that I know, and every single time I'm like, why is this so... And then I'm like, oh, okay.
What about Imagine Dragons? Can you get to 2 for them?
No. I don't even know that I can get to 1.
Radioactive?
Oh, that's the one, yeah.
That's their closer.
I'm waking up.
Don't stop. They got some tunes.
So Aaron Judge has picked a side then in the
Drake Kendrick beef.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, can I just
because like what athletes do is they're just like I like them all.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
If they're like I don't think about politics, but for music,
right? This is not very shocking to me. It's like he's probably just had the same playlist rocking on Spotify on the unnamed audio platform.
Thank you.
For the last decade. He's probably still like, yeah, dude, the motto gets me hyped up.
And
probably because
would he be
right.
wrong for that?
Probably because he's right.
Little headlines action.
Mm-hmm. I mean, objectively,
don't act like we didn't listen to Views hundreds of times
Exactly.
in our college career.
Like, I mean, is there a more embarrassing artist to come out and proclaim yourself as a fan of in 2025? No. Yeah.
Not more embarrassing and well known at the same time. Yes. There
Oh,
are
sure,
more canceled artists.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah.
If Aaron Judge was like, my favorite artist is R. Kelly.
Oh. I don't even know what to say anymore.
Yeah. I don't mean to dumb it down too much. I just think these guys don't really care that much. They don't think about it really. They don't like follow these things as closely as we might think they do.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think they probably should. Do you think that Aaron Judge is like, oh, I'm so hyped for this Drake Aiden Ross crossover?
I don't
do you
even
know who that is? All right, never mind.
No, I do know who that is. Isn't that the guy who like Trump gave a car?
I don't actually know why I said that name on this podcast. That was a poor form by me, frankly.
We should have like a kangaroo court fine jar.
We absolutely should.
And
we can, anytime we break a banned topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or also just anything else.
So anytime we talk.
Right.
So you're saying we should stop doing the pod. This is a downer though, actually.
What, that he's a Drake stan?
Yeah. I mean, he still walks up to Drake, I think. That could be totally factually incorrect. I have no idea.
That's because you don't go to Yankee Stadium.
I won't go.
Yeah. You won't do that boots on the ground reporting.
No, I will go. I'll go.
But shaking your head the whole time to let everyone know you disagree with it.
Right. Yeah. What I won't do is show up in a Mets jersey.
Right.
That's
corny.
I'm
That's
beyond
loser
that.
behavior.
Sorry to my friend Tom, who showed up to my birthday game at Citi Field in a bunch of Yankee
He's
stuff.
not my friend. I'm not sorry.
He kind of is your friend. Okay, we got another submission here on Next to Everything app. This is the one reply that we got for me requesting things that people want to hear us talk about that we haven't covered so far this season. Talk about how Anthony Volpe is a fraud.
No.
So you're in the Anthony Volpe fan club? You're either in or you're out. He's either a fraud or he's the second coming.
Or he's Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
On the Red Sox, to be clear.
Shortstop. Babe Ruth, famous Red Sox shortstop.
What, do you want to do baseball analysis right now?
Sure. Smidge.
Okay, go for it.
What do you think of the torpedo bats?
Are you serious?
Yeah, why not?
I don't care.
You don't care about the bats. You don't care about the discourse. You don't like you don't care about what?
I don't care about any of it.
Okay.
That's cool. Damn, they innovated. Took them long enough. But I probably wouldn't have noticed this if it wasn't every other tweet was like a screen grab of it. Like, okay. I don't know. Is there a take that these are like unfair? It's not unfair because every team has access to this.
Mm-hmm.
Every team can just ask for that bat if you really want.
Right.
I think
just like
exactly.
That's a banned topic. Shit.
Put it in the swear jar.
God damn it. All right, I got to go back and bleep that now. No, I'm with you. We made gloves bigger, you know? First baseman's glove is different than shortstop's glove.
We used to not even fucking have gloves.
And we should go back to that, right?
Well,
back when men were men.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Oh, you need a little mask because you might get hit in the face?
Wow, it hurts your hand. Toughen up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the torpedo bats are fine.
We're just getting right in on the discourse right in the middle of it,
I think
too.
we're overstating how much it looks like a torpedo. How about that for a take?
Yep.
That's not what a torpedo looks like, really.
Mm-mm. It looks like a bowling pin.
That doesn't roll off the tongue quite as nicely.
Right, bowling pin bat, bowling bat.
Bowling bat is all right. But that makes me think of Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Oh, it makes me think of Bowling Green on the 4-5-6 line.
Oh, okay, curveball. Okay, Coastal Elite. I see you. I see you. Favorite subway stop, Bowling Green? Have you ever gotten out at Bowling Green?
I used to when I worked around there.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Little internship at Vox. I was in my Matty Y bag.
I keep asking you to stop saying Matty Y on this pod.
Okay, I was in my Matt Iglesias bag.
Okay.
Is that better?
Not really.
Okay.
Somehow felt worse.
Yeah.
What would you do if
And
you
my
found out
answer
he
climbed
listens to the
back,
pod?
Actually. I'd kill myself. I don't know.
Not what I thought you were gonna say.
It's over then. We're cooked.
Maybe. You're right. I saw someone passing around like a political alignment chart of like media companies and their biases. Did you see this?
I did, yeah.
And Matty Y was on there. Couple other places were on there. Revolutionary Left Radio was on their way in the opposite direction of Matty Y. And it got me thinking, why aren't we on there?
You want us to be on there next to like
Pod Bros.
Next to the Chapos
Ideally.
of the world.
Was Chapo on there? I didn't even see them.
I don't know. I think the one that was going around recently was kind of a bit. Like, I think it took an existing media bias chart and then put like a bunch of, vaguely progressive Twitter people on there.
Yeah. I'm a vaguely progressive Twitter person.
That's true.
I'm out here fighting these good fights, tweeting about David Zaslav. People getting mad at me for talking about David Zaslav.
So
they're like, you work for unnamed audio company. You don't have any room to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, you're kind of right.
So where do you think you fall in that chart, right? Because it's like the x-axis is like, left to right, and then the y-axis is like factual versus like biased,
Yeah. Me individually or us on the pod?
I guess both.
So I think me individually,
like I think tipping pitches is like far left bottom, as in very left, incredibly biased and not factual.
Correct.
Okay,
I think that's
just
right.
making sure.
I think, although you joke, but I feel like we are actually one of the more factual baseball podcasts out there. Like when we do drop the joking around shtick and like do an episode like CBA ABCs, for example, or like our CBA deep dive. I mean, no one else is really doing it like that. Like we did the work. We were citing the text, I mean, we provide our opinions around it, but you can't say that we don't understand how these things work and portray them accurately.
I agree.
Whether we talk about how they should change and how they should change is up to us. But me, I don't really traffic in the world of like factual analysis like some of these people do, like for example,
Matt Iglesias.
the abundance guys. They're all about factual analysis. They're all about stats from what I hear.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We go.
I mean,
I didn't even have to prompt you that time.
I don't know. I mean, that's just what I'm told. Surveys, data, visualization, data viz. You're a big data viz guy.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the abundance guys. Just like them.
Little Icarus over here flying a little close to the sun. It's okay.
I don't know what you mean.
Okay.
Now you, on the other hand.
Right.
Let's talk about you.
Oh.
You're as far to the left as me. Maybe a little bit further on that chart.
Right.
And you are way away from facts. You don't you don't come here like, here's what's going on.
In fact, sometimes it's intentional misinformation. That's the most fun.
Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true.
I mean, I personally...
Should we become a misinformation account?
I
should we
personally
start
like
just like
being a ticket taker at Mets games and turning away anyone who looks like a Republican. To be very clear.
That's what I'm saying. Should we start posting like that? And just trying to like catch the algorithm
Just
or
doing,
whatever?
like, engagement bait?
Yeah, or like fake quotes from players.
Mm-hmm. We need an NBA Centel for Major League Baseball.
I mean, this is not a bad idea. Yeah.
All right, so we should stop saying something.
In Canva, you create like a quote card template, and we just like reshare it with like.
Dude, you gotta stop putting these ideas out in the world.
Here's what William Abreu had to say about the Yankees organization.
Right. Walker Buehler gives shocking testimony
about why he left the Dodgers.
Yeah.
He felt that what they were doing was unfair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Much to think about.
We killed enough time, you think?
I think so, probably.
Okay.
Yeah. We can keep going for another 20 if you want.
See, I have things, but they're more 3 up, 3 down oriented. And look, I'm really excited to get back into 3 up, 3 down.
Me too. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the pod, later this week on Patreon, we are going to be doing a 3 up, 3 down with special guest Hannah Kaiser, who is back writing about baseball on the freaking internet regularly. She's been freelancing for the last couple of years and has done some great work, but I miss reading Hannah's work more regularly. She's working on a newsletter called The Bandwagon that we are big fans of, and I think if you like this podcast, you'll be a big fan of that too. So we're going to talk to Hannah on Patreon. Hannah was nice enough to join us last year when you were out. You were out of the country. And Hannah co-hosted 3 Up, 3 Down with me. And so we're just going to do that again over on Patreon later this week. Let's go to our conversation now with Kurt Weaver, the Chief Operating Officer of You Can Play. Okay, we are now lucky to be joined by the COO of You Can Play, Kurt Weaver. Kurt, what's up? Welcome to Tipping Pitches.
Oh, I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Kurt, as you know, as we talked about before we got started, we've been running this fundraiser throughout April for your organization, You Can Play. This is something that we asked for submissions from our listeners on charities that they had either seen doing this kind of work to support access for LGBTQ youth to play sports, especially in this like incredibly trying and terrifying time for specifically trans youth at this moment. And we wanted to do this along with opening day, and your organization came up. So I was hoping that you could help the listeners who have maybe been following this fundraiser a little bit through the last couple of weeks, but have not checked it out yet or have not had the chance to donate. I was hoping that you could help those listeners understand like what kind of work you all are doing over there, and maybe even just like the founding of the organization and the reason behind it.
Sure. So first of all, thanks listeners for making a suggestion of You Can Play. We love it. We love you. And we really appreciate that. You Can Play. We turned 13 this year. So we just had our birthday and our founding birthday. We got started from the idea that back in the 2010, 11, 12 timeframe, sport locker room, sport discussion, terminology, some of those things, a little bit different than it is today. It was what I would still call the rough, wild west days of the locker room was just sort of what it was. And we got our founding through hockey. So founding came through the Burke family. Brian Burke, a longtime GM of a lot of the NHL teams, was one of our founding members. And his son had come out while he was in college, and he became a huge advocate ally. And so sort of in the memory of his son, unfortunately passed away in a car accident, we got You Can Play started along with some other co-founders that had been involved in sport across a broad range of different sports. And so we got started with the NHL was our very first partner. And credit to the NHL, not a league that maybe everybody thinks is that inclusive as you look at it on its face, but they were the first ones to do a full league of pride games. And so actually got all the teams to kick things off. But very quickly, again, at that time, the work had not yet really started on this stuff. And so, pride games or at least even talking about social justice items around sport was not really a thing that was happening at that time. So all the sports came knocking. So we really expanded into baseball, basketball, football, all different sports very quickly in those early years to then work with what is at that time was just the pro leagues and getting them kicked off on what does inclusion mean at that level. And I'll get into this a little bit more if you're interested in it, but truly inclusion is not the dirty word that I think has been spread around. And it's not the dystopian nightmare coming to, steal your children that everybody kind of, you're hearing at least from one side of the aisle. It's really about expanding new customer bases. It's getting more butts in seats. It's getting more eyes on broadcast. It's getting more people involved in fans of the sport. And I think that takes some specialized targeting and some specialized communication out to different communities. So it's really what we started with those pro leagues is getting them upskilled on how to speak to a community, how to bring them in as fans and participants. And, hopefully you go from a one-time pride game ticket buyer into a season ticket buyer and you become a real fan of that sport. So it's about the expansion of sport and making it a safe and welcoming place for everybody. Through the years, that changed from just working with the pro level into then, of course, where the change happens, which is the baseball field down the street from you. If the kid walks up at second grade and is joining baseball for the first time, that touch that coach has that very first moment is going to decide whether that kid plays baseball the rest of their life or not. And we all know that. We all remember that first coach we had. Probably if you played baseball or you played sports for a long time, that first coach was a great experience. If you didn't and you ended up getting out of sport, probably that was not a great experience for you. And so really that's where the change is made. But not just that first day, ongoing, do we keep the work going? And I always like to say those coaches that have a really high retention rate are the ones who are doing a great job on inclusion. That's the best way to measure how a coach is doing of any sport, anytime. But we now do a lot of work outside of taking those faces and those big names, those big brands within sport, the pro level, and then put it down at that community level and say, those communications help us to then educate coaches, referees, umps, parents, administrators, to make sure that we surround those athletes with inclusive areas that they do feel welcome, they can be themselves, and they can love sport the way the rest of us do, and make sure that it's part of their lives, hopefully for the rest of their life.
I mean, I think that's so amazing. And I love the way you talk about, inclusion. I'm curious, I would love to hear you sort of expand on that and sort of what that, I guess, means in practice, because it feels, when I think about it, right, like creating a more inclusive environment in sport, that feels like so big. You're running up against decades of certain ways of thinking or systems that have just been in place because that's the way things are. I mean, what does that actually kind of look like trying to dismantle some of those barriers on the ground?
It's not waving more rainbow flags and walking in parades. I think that's what the thought is. Like we're coming out here to take over baseball, and it's going to be all rainbow flags. We're all going to walk out in the pride parade. Yes, we love it. If you want to walk in the pride parade, give us a call. We'll bring you along with us. But it's really more so about that small stuff that happens every single day at the ball field, at practice, what the coaches are doing. That's where the difference gets made. And so that's really where, when we're working with coaches or working with, communities of sport to upskill them or educate them, it's really that small stuff. So did you get to know your athletes just a little bit more to make them feel a little bit more welcome about whatever journey they had to get to baseball? Did they have a little tough time, getting there? Are they having trouble with housing? Are they having trouble with, bullying or other issues? Are they worried that I'm not going to be welcome on this team because it's maybe not for me? And again, that extra step you do to make sure that athlete feels welcome, they then buy into it. They're then all in, right? So it becomes their identity. It becomes the belonging. It's where my friendships are made. And so it doesn't take a lot to get kids hooked in, but it is that initial step that just says, hey, I'm going to understand that maybe the athlete coming to me in front of me, I may not fully understand, but I'm going to then question and try to grow to understand that athlete and keep them on our team. And so inclusion, we always say, it's not the parades or the explosions or the pride nights. Inclusion is a small pin on the coaching shirt. It's a patch on the bag. It's a quick comment to say, hey, listen, you're always welcome to come and talk to me as a coach. It's that stuff. That's really what it ends up being. And it's just an extra step we all need to take to say, hey, we want you here, and we want to take your unique, diverse journey and make it part of the team. Don't just leave that at home and we want robots on the baseball field. It's about bringing your whole self, right? Ted Lasso, we want your entire self here, and we want to make it part of the team, and we're going to win with it. Not just something that you're going to leave at home, sexuality, gender identity, or race, ethnicity, ability, all those things. Don't leave those things at home. Bring them to you, bring them to baseball with you, and make it part of the team, and we're going to win with it.
It makes me think of this like idea in the disability world of like the curb cut effect, right? Which is like, yes, we are creating an inclusive environment because there is a group of folks for whom that environment is not inclusive right now. And so, yes, this is a organized effort to make a more inclusive world for LGBTQ youth and adults. And also that has the knock-on effect of, even if you don't feel like you are in that group, you may still feel like, hey, this is still a place where I do feel welcome, right? This is the coach is actually coming around and asking me, hey, how am I doing? And from like a mental health perspective or whatever it is, it's like creating that environment helps not just the people you're actually trying to help, but more broadly helps everyone else have that buy-in.
Spot on. You're so right. I like to say, how many of us have walked into a building using a wheelchair ramp? Everybody raises the hand. Do I necessarily need it? No, but there's certain people who really need it. But I like it. It's convenient. It's fun. It's easy sometimes. And so it's the idea that we should have the wheelchair ramp and the stairs. I think sometimes in advocacy, we can be guilty of, we actually built the wheelchair ramp, but we got rid of the stairs too, or we're trying to get rid of the stairs. That's not the answer. It's about bringing everybody together while still respecting what is the core of the sport or the organization or the entity we're parts of. And I think that's where, again, I take it on our responsibility. We sometimes can sound like we are, removing what you always knew and it's all going to be new and different. But truly, I'm the first one to say, if you don't build the wheelchair ramp first before you have your first person that needs the wheelchair, they're never going to come, because they walk right by, or they roll right by that building and say, I can't get in there. I'm not even going to apply for a job in there or try to eat in that restaurant or whatever it might be. So we got to build the ramp first to then bring the kids into sport. And that means a whole bunch of things for, differing sexualities or gender identities or races or ethnicities or, immigration status or whatever it might be. All of those things just take a little bit of forethought to say, how do we prepare this sport to be just this much better? And it works. It absolutely works. It works on number increases. It works on retention. It works on butts in seats at pro stadiums. It works on eyes on broadcast. So it's all those things that it benefits, and the numbers are there that back that up. And I think that's we don't always make it's a heart case and it's a business case, and it's both. And I think we actively make both those cases, because sometimes owners maybe want the business case more than anything else. But we're still here to say the heart and soul case as well, which is this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. So what does that look like on, I mean, you talked a little bit about what that looked like in the early days at the professional level. And I think that, probably a lot of people listening to this podcast have a firsthand experience with what that looks like for their professional team. They've been to their team's Pride Night. They see on social media when their team is talking about different days of visibility. But for a lot of us who are mid-20s or later, this is not the kind of environment that we grew up playing youth sports in. And so I think very few of us have an understanding of what that actually looks like in principle. Is it training coaches at that level? Is it actually coming out to the community ballpark and talking about these things to a whole team? How does that usually function, and how does the organizational structure of You Can Play kind of live some of these values week to week?
Sure. And you bring up a good point. You got to start with the coaches. So we've learned this. If you start with the kids and you've not surrounded them with a coach, an ump, an administrator, a structure that's going to back up that information, you might as well have not talked to the kids. So we've learned that through trial and error. And there's actually some really good data that comes out of Monash University in Australia. They did this around inclusion, education. But if you start with the coaches, and then frankly, the officials, referees, and umps are on that list almost 1 and 1A, because they hear a different thing than even the coaches hear where they are. But if you educate and equip those two communities to start off with, then you bring on the administrators and even maybe the parents, but the athletes eventually come on board that, which is, hey, we can all do better. But you've then surrounded everybody with doing it the right way. And again, it's not going to be drastic changes to what you're doing, or it's not going to be completely changing the way that you're, teaching baseball or any sport. It's much more so around, hey, listen, if we're going to remove some language, I want all the listening audience to think back. When I get mad on the field of play, and I'm going to then start to yell at the person across from me, be it my own teammate or the other team, what do I first do? I tear them down somehow, and usually that is to misgender them or to call them some sort of homophobic slur. Almost all of our sporting crap, I don't know if I can swear on here, shit talk, our sporting shit talk falls into homophobic slurs or misgendering. Why is that? Well, we can go back years and look into that, but it's much more so around, let's just acknowledge that it was there and let's change it and do better. And so our older brothers and sisters, our coach, our parents don't have to fall out of our mouth when we want to on the field of play. That could be something that we change. And I think that's one of the first things we start with, which is sport smack talk can be funny, engaging, good banter, a little chirping here and there. It can be in that way and be competitive, but it doesn't have to be homophobic or racist or misgendering or otherwise. And so first of all, just be better at that. And that's the very first step there. But I think that's where, if you don't start that with the coaches fall into it just as quickly as the kids do sometimes. And I still go out to ballparks and, at the peewee levels of lots of sports. And I'm like, ooh, okay, I see where this is coming from. So if we don't start with the coaches and the referees and the umps and everyone else, it tends to then kind of keep permeating through the team. And the parents are in there too. That's a harder battle to fight. We'll deal with that. But again, I'm not trying to maybe change people's politics or change the way that you speak at home. I'm just going to say, if you want access to this awesome thing that's called baseball or sport, to do that, you can't use these terms. There we go. That's the first step. Then we'll get into the whys down the road.
Is there a particular moment or two that you've had in your time at You Can Play that you sort of you felt really proud of, or you felt really like sort of captured the essence of the organization? I mean, I'm sure there have been many of these, but is there one or two that sort of really stand out in your mind where you're like, yes, like this is why we're doing what we're doing?
We do get the emails from the parents and letters from families that, this is saving lives and it's making a difference. And so I don't want to diminish that side of it, because it does truly positive mental health outcomes because of participation in sport. It's the number one mental health therapy that I think is out there, is participation in sport, right? And belonging in that sport and feeling that belonging. But that aside, I would say I always love the greatest stories, but the group that I'm the most proud of when they sort of turn that corner and the light bulb goes off, it's the old grizzled middle-aged white coach. Let's all picture that hockey coach, that football coach, that baseball coach in our brain, and we're like, that's the one who will never listen to this ever and won't even go to the class to listen or learn. Those are almost always mostly guys, sometimes women, mostly guys who stay after the class, stick around and have 3 more questions. And like, hey, listen, I don't get all this stuff, but I heard this term the other day and I'm just wondering what this means. And it's just like the heart opens up and like, I don't need to agree with anything or understand it or live a new life. I just want to know what my kids are saying to me or what jokes they're making because I don't understand it. Or how do I make them feel just this much more welcome? And I think that's where we tested our coach education in some areas of the US and Canada where we do primarily most of our work, in those communities where you'd say, that's not going to fly there. When you go to Nebraska and teach football coaches, that's going to be where that's going to be a no. But honestly, that's the group who is like, listen, I know I got to learn this stuff. I'm not as cool and hip as I thought I was, and I need to know what this is going on. And I know that a little bit of work can make it a little bit better for some athletes. So I always give credit there. Those are the people that I wish I could have somebody sit with me and watch those light bulbs go off when that happens.
It strikes me that there are all these different reasons that there are pushbacks to ideas like this, particularly in sports. I think that there is like an underlying masculinity tied to competitiveness that exists in most sports nowadays, that is like latent from decades and decades past. But I find that really hypocritical because like sports is supposed to be like merit based, like we're always told all of the time that sports is about how good you are and that should be the only thing that matters. And that is so far from the truth. And so like the work of making a sporting space inclusive and welcoming to the point where you actually can live that value is something that really matters to me. But I wonder, as you like, what are the common refrains that you bump up against when talking about the idea of inclusivity and how sports is supposed to be this hyper competitive space where only the strong, survive? Like, I feel like oftentimes people wrongheadedly think that is a reason not to do some of these things.
100%. Yep. I would say the number one thing is that if you are including others, I am now excluded. I don't know where that comes from. It's a new sort of way that we're looking at the world. And I do understand it's messaging that we see constantly from one side of the aisle, but it's the idea that if there's a pride night happening, straight people are not welcome. And I think that's the most interesting part to all of it. On Military Appreciation Night, it's not like non-military folks are not welcome in the stadium. We just happen to all be there to celebrate the military and those individuals who have served. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. And I think this is where I love sport. I mostly spent my time in rugby, and that's my background, but I love all sports, and I've played almost every one of them. And telling someone about sport, and of course, you all do this for a living, like talking about sport and the nuances of it and everything else, we love it and we're so passionate about it. Teaching somebody new about sport is the greatest thing. And so that's what it's really more about, is bringing some new people into the thing we love and talking about it. They happen to be from a certain community or background or demographic, but it's so interesting to me, to that thought that is, if you're doing a pride night, and I'll give you an example. Phoenix Rising is a second tier. It's USL pro soccer team out of Phoenix. They posted about their pride night. The first comment on almost all posts about pride nights on any sport anywhere is, well, when's straight pride night? And they were the one team who finally clapped back and said, well, we don't know, but when asshole pride night's going to happen, we're going to let you know. And it's like, that's what we all want to say, but it's so true. But it's like, listen, if you feel like there needs to be a straight pride night, let's have that separate conversation. But it's about going out and identifying new communities we want to bring into this amazing thing called sport, and we're going to do that. Now, the other one is, well, if you spend some more time practicing, you wouldn't be losing. Like, that's the greatest one, right? So instead of focusing on pride, why don't you do some more practice, and so we can get into the playoffs? If you think the same person who's putting the rainbow flag up over the, on the jumbotron is the person doing batting practice, you have a misunderstanding of how pro sports work. And so it is not the poor intern kid who's in charge of the jumbotron graphics is not the one doing batting practice and spending more time hitting or not. So it's such an interesting idea that, like, by doing, again, celebration nights, nobody ever says this about Star Wars night or bobblehead night or otherwise, right? It's about very specifically pride nights. And even we now get into, Latino communities and indigenous community celebrations. You don't hear the vitriol there. And again, it's the timing, it's the messaging. All the polling that came out of this last election in the US basically drilled down into lots of things weren't working. The one thing that was ringing true was trans women in women's sports. That's the one wedge issue that they could put some money behind and that did not, quote unquote, make sense to middle America, and especially fathers with girls that play sports. That's the one thing that they saw they could move some needle on. And credit to their polling groups and everything else and the money they put behind it. It's, of course, a false trope and false narrative, but it really worked, and they just pounded away at it. And so I think we on the side of advocacy have to do a better job of equipping people with information and stories and community and connection that combats some of that stuff. But I think that's where it's always an interesting thing to me that I was in charge of. I was with USA Rugby for 10 years to grow sport. I was bringing more rugby. My job was to bring more people into sport. Sport right now at the team sport level is shrinking. It's struggling to find numbers. We're running out of kids who want to do this stuff. So let's go find new ones. That means not the same suburban white kids we've always gone after. Meaning, let's look for some different kids from different communities who are traditionally not playing the sport. That means differing races, sexualities, genders, gender identities. It's about looking into diversity as a growth mechanism, not as some sort of like extra thing that's going to hurt my kids' chances to play sport. And I think that's the number one thing we combat against is the idea that by bringing in someone new, my spot could get taken. And I think that's just it's a weird idea for all of us who want to make sport strong and here for the rest of time.
I mean, the way I always think about it, at least like in my specific slice of life, is that like there's like 45,000 seats at every single baseball game, like at the pro level. Every Mets game that I go to, there's 40,000 people that could be at that game with me. Like, anybody should be able to come. There should be no barrier for entry for why you come, and you should not be made to feel unwelcome at that game for any reason at all. Like, if we just lowered or got rid of the barrier for entry, I don't really understand why that is such a controversial stance to take. And I think that most of the time it basically fun. This is why it really strikes a chord when you talk about what You Can Play is doing and getting to people in specific communities and at a younger age, is that it's just like most people just have not experienced this in their life. Like, most people have not been around that many people who are that different from them. But if they were, they would realize it's not such a life-altering experience to do something with someone who's not from the exact same social class and background as you. And so that's why why the mission speaks to me specifically, because it's like, I actually think that's one of the best parts about baseball, is that like we all care about what's happening on this field right now, despite the fact that we have on its surface so little in common. That rocks. I mean, that is what is cool about sports.
Oh, absolutely. So I grew up Columbus, Ohio, Columbus Clippers. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Columbus Clippers, like ride or die. Here we go. And just the best experience, because again, you get in there and yes, it's the sunshine, it's the hot dog, it's the beer. You've got that side of it, but it's the sitting there with the most random strangers to then enjoy what is going on at a big slice of Americana. And the 45,000 seats, a big chunk of them aren't full. So Are we just wanting that to sit empty instead of bringing in some new people to then love this like we love it? Because the rising tide does lift all boats. With more people and more tickets sold and more people involved in this sport, the merch gets better, the food gets better, the experience gets better. Like, everything gets better about the sport when it is healthy and doing well. And so it's such an interesting thing that says right now about 25% of LGBTQ plus kids participate in sport versus about 68 to 70% of straight kids. That right there shows us there's a group that we're not accessing that could be in baseball if we wanted to make it baseball's thing. There we go. Like that's a new group we can go after. It's a new marketing, community we can go after. 22% of the youngest two generations right now identify somehow as LGBTQ plus. And again, that's not 22% of our kids are gay. That's 22% identify with the movement, the larger community. That's a big chunk of our future customer base to go after. And again, tickets, participation on the field. It's something where this is simply a business case. This is the right move to make no matter what business you're in. And it's going to show more and more over time. I wish it was more blatant today, but minor league baseball did an amazing report out of the back of doing some pride work. And it was basically 8% bump on any time they did a pride night versus like to like nights. It was an 8% bump on all things across the board, food and bev, merch, ticket sales. So there is like I said, there is that business case to make where this is the right thing to do. But I also want people to understand by me going to a baseball game or not, isn't going to be the difference between my outcomes, potentially self-harm, mental health, and otherwise. For a big chunk of these kids, it is the difference. So I'm finding a place that is belonging, is identity. I'm making friendships that I would not have had. And that is the difference between some of them surviving and not. And so this is where it's like, there's this business case. It's also this absolute need that we have out there. And they just intersect in the right ways. And sport is that place. And that's, again, I can talk about sport all day long because it's just such a great place.
So, I mean, for myself, the listener who's listening to this, is You Can Play something that like we can get involved in? Obviously, we're doing this like fundraiser, but are there opportunities you actually lend to folks who care about this and really sort of want to actually get their hands dirty in this work?
Yes, and then thanks for that. I've taken me back home. I appreciate that. So absolutely, yes.
It's a podcast, baby. We got to remind you to plug.
Yeah. So absolutely, we need volunteers. We need people who are also out there in sport. And I think again, the biggest difference isn't necessarily the MLB Pro saying something on video to camera on the Jumbotron. The biggest difference is my local, Little League is I'm going to make it 3% more inclusive for kids to be able to feel welcome. That's the difference. And so that's where we collectively are as people out in the community. So I think there's all kinds of opportunities. We need educators out there to then be able to give this stuff. So we have some volunteers. We have an ambassador program we can sign on. We give you some stuff and the equipment to go out and spread this word. But really it's about head to our website. Donations are definitely welcome. This is not something that is cheap or easy to do, but absolutely grab a resource. See what can I do tomorrow at practice, at my kids' practice, if I'm a coach, what I'm going to do at practice to make a difference. And that's the biggest thing I'm going to ask of everybody out there, which is if you think about this, what could I do just 1% better within this week to make somebody feel a little bit more welcome? And it could be somebody from the queer community. It could be somebody else. How do I just make somebody feel this much more welcome at a time when I can see they're wondering if they are or not? And that's the difference. If we all just take that step, it makes a huge amount of difference. And we've got those resources on our website, youcanplay.org. And under our inclusion resources, sign up as an ambassador, make a donation. Just tell us your story. We'd love to be able to hear what's going on out there. But then the large scale coaching program, if you have a league, we'd like to come in and give you the education. That's what we're here for. We've got all the online courses too. So yeah, choose your own adventure.
Listeners, the link is in the description to contribute to the Tipping Pitches You Can Play fundraiser. The link is also in the description just for youcanplay.org. Kurt Weaver, thank you so much for coming on and talking a little bit about what You Can Play is doing.
Thank you so much for this. This is such a wonderful opportunity. I deeply appreciate it. I'm a huge fan. So I'm a little fanboying today to be on with you. So I appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Thanks to Kurt. I'd like to offer some thanks to Red Sox legend Babe Ruth. Anyone else we should be thanking? The Abundance guys.
The Abundance guys. Dick Monfort, obviously.
Oh, yeah. Keeping us in business.
Mm-hmm. Matty Y.
All right, Matty Y. Yeah. I realized at the top of the pod I teased that I had some thoughts about the Dodgers and the Cubs, and I just never
We just never did it. It's fine.
I think the Dodgers are good, but just normal good.
Oh, you're trying to slip him in now?
Why did we freak out about that they were the greatest team ever and they were never going to lose? Like, they're good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you guys know this, but they won like 113 games a couple years ago. Like, that was just like a couple years ago. Yeah. They're not going to win that this year.
Right.
And everybody, time kept on ticking. The world kept spinning. We all kept living. Everything was fine.
There is this like weird thing where people just assume like, oh, well, if you just keep spending money and just keep adding players to your team, there's no limit on how many games you could win.
Right.
They may win 200 games next year.
No.
I don't care that there's 162 games in the season.
So you're saying it's not worth it to spend money on players?
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, know your limits. I'm just saying, like,
you like what the Mariners are up to?
People get so upset, and I'm like, they still gotta go out there and play the game.
Yeah.
How's it working out for them? They're in third place right now. I don't think they're gonna end up there.
It would be quite interesting if they did, though.
It would.
Yeah. They're not going to, though.
No, but
they could.
But
okay. As a reminder, patreon.com/tippingpitches. Sign up over there to get access to more episodes of this here podcast, as well as some other interesting things. If you haven't yet and you have a couple extra dollars for the fundraiser for You Can Play, you just heard from Kurt about the kind of work that they're doing and how important it is. So that would be much appreciated. Outside of that, there's some fun stuff coming up both here and on the Patreon. So check out what we're doing. Appreciate you listening. We will talk to you next week.
Hello, everybody. I'm Alex Rodriguez. Tipping Pitches.
Tipping Pitches.
This is the one that I love the most.
Tipping Pitches.
So we'll see you next week. See ya!